Today we are here to announce the arrest of Arafat Nagy, 44 years old, from Lackawanna. According to the complaint, which was today unsealed, Nagy attempted to join this terrorist organization, and specifically pledged allegiance to it and its leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi.
No matter how the vermin seeks to hide, they are sometimes simple to uncover. The ones who make extended trips to countries with known deep terrorist ties are the easiest. But then you have the ones who are pictured at cookouts with friends, smiling back at us, proud members of society. In one instance, it begins with a Facebook friend request, later uncovered as something much more sinister. Then there are the ones with known mental illnesses who easily and readily get their hands on new weapons and move through the day with nary a hint of concern until they load up and start firing at innocents. They are extremists who believe the only way to effect real change is to slaughter people at will. They're here in America, and we maybe need to consider a change in how we go after them and how we save lives. He understands the terrorist mind. More than 20 years in the CIA, author of the bestseller Jawbreaker, The Attack on Bin Laden and Al-Qaeda, Gary Berntsen. Gary, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening, Ed.
Gary, we look at what happened first in Lackawanna, New York. The gentleman there, we just heard the soundbite, a guy who was going after violent jihad. Then we have a young man in Key West, Florida. Thanks to a Facebook friend request, the FBI got a hold of this guy, found out he was going to blow up a bomb on the beach in Key West, maybe even go after Miami Beach on the 4th of July. Does this not tell us that we're better off focusing our look for extremists right here in this country, doing everything we can, focusing hard here, not spending so much time and money overseas?
We're going to have to do both, Ed, because ISIS has a large reach, not just in the U.S., but abroad, and the United States has global interests. In terms of domestically, there are many thousands of individuals in the United States that are in contact with ISIS via their social media platforms. This presents a terrible danger to the U.S., and as the head of the FBI, Jim Comey, stated recently, he's not confident that he can continue to stop these threats, and eventually one will get through and we will suffer some serious attacks here.
Then why don't we put more money, more people, more effort right here in America inside our borders than worrying about overseas? Doesn't that seem smarter?
Well, of course it does. And the first thing we need to do, of course, is secure the border. But we have a population now of 2.6 million Muslims in the United States. That population has increased since 9/11, which was at that time 1 million. And within that population, a very, very small number of them, look to Islam and Islamic extremism as a way to sort of solve their problems, whether they are underperformers in education or not adjusting to the United States. And ISIS has information operations people working these electronic media from Raqqa and other places. There are ISIS IO officers, information operations officers, that have over 150,000 contacts on Twitter and Facebook that are spewing out this hatred for the United States. And young individuals who are not of the age to vote or to join a military anyplace else, young teenagers who are unsupervised, are going on and interacting with these people. And as in the case of Lackawanna, Mr. Arafat Nagy, who was 44 years old, he should have known better, got involved with these people. They are, though, signing up for war with a terrorist organization on the United States, and they have to be treated as such. They're not misguided individuals. Once you've signed up for ISIS, you've declared war on the United States, and they need to be tried with our legal system and in the most harsh fashion.
Then, Gary, I know the civil libertarians are going to go absolutely nuts when I say this out loud, and I'm going to get hammered for it, but I'll say it because it needs to be said. Have we not reached the point where we have got to start looking at privacy here, safety here? We've got to make a decision. We have to get tougher, or else more people are going to die, and that means there's going to have to be deeper investigative procedures.
They are doing a lot now. Some of what they're doing is reported. Some of it is not reported. They are the administration. This administration is not the type of administration to be as aggressive as we need. Look, we need to destroy ISIS where they are as well. We need to identify their IO operators in Raqqa and other places and put missiles on them. We need to eliminate those people and cut off those nodes. And that is defensive posture at home and an aggressive offensive posture abroad And we're really not doing either.
But how do we convince the American public, though, Gary? Here's the thing. The American public, lawyers, look, people will come back and say, I'm not guilty here. I deserve my security, but I deserve my safety and my privacy. But what you're saying and what I'm saying is here, the two can't mix right now in this war.
We are at risk. Americans are sleeping. Most Americans are not aware of the threat. They're not paying attention. And sadly, it will require a major incident before you have the level of support for the type of security measures that you're talking about, Ed. It won't occur until we have suffered a 9/11 type blow.
And on top of everything that we're talking about here, New America, a Washington research center in a new study, finds that since 9/11, nearly twice as many people have been killed by white supremacists, anti-government fanatics, and other non-Muslim extremists than by radical Muslims. So how do we then put this all into the bag here and say, wait a minute, Ed, you guys are sitting here right now, you're talking about Muslim extremists. Here's something that says that they're not really as bad as we think they are. How do we convince people that just one is bad then and make sense of these numbers?
My great fear, Ed, is that they will leverage WMD at some point. It is the poor man's weapon. And the United States is not prepared for this. We're not prepared. We don't have a protected grid. We don't have a protected border. Our elected officials, both Democratic and Republican, have failed the public. They have failed the public terribly. And only when they get serious about applying resources to real security and to aggressively pursue those that have declared war on us will the level of security increase for the
war on us of any kind. War on us of any kind, right, Gary? Doesn't make a difference whether it comes from Muslim extremists, homegrown terrorists. Makes no difference whether it comes from some nut job far religionist. We have to go after all that with the same fervor, yes?
The responsibility of government is to secure its population first, to allow its people to live freely and to live, free from terror, free from violence and murder and mayhem. And a lot of people just take for granted that those conditions exist, not recognizing that there are people outside of our border and some inside of our border that are planning to murder us every day of the week.
Every day.
And since it's not happening, because the part of the problem is the national security apparatus is a victim of much of its own success. We've stopped a lot of these things.
And we got to stop it right there, unfortunately, because of time. Hard talk, honest talk. Gary Berntsen, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on the hard line, the release of Jonathan Pollard. Whether or not that is really making people angry, it is. Steve Forbes and Tom Brady versus the NFL on the hard line.